E3 is just a week away, and everyone has that list of games that they're just hoping to get announced year after year after year. So I thought I would talk about the 5 games that I would absolutely flip my shit over if they got announced at this year's E3. First off is Elder Scrolls 6. Now, I've been a huge fan of this franchise ever since playing Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, which continues to really be my favorite of the series. I mean, don't get me wrong, Oblivion and Skyrim are both great games as well, but they put a lot of effort into simplifying and streamlining a lot of things from Morrowind, some of which was definitely for the better, but there are some things that I just really miss, especially the complexity of the game's dungeon designs. The biggest thing for me really though is that if and when they announce Elder Scrolls 6, I just want it to feel alien again. One of the things I really loved about Morrowind is that it wasn't just fantasy, but it was also completely unique in design as far as what kind of monsters and creatures that you encountered, including giant insects and flying jellyfish. Meanwhile, Oblivion and Skyrim basically covered all the stuff that we're used to seeing over and over and over again. All that being said, the chances of a new Elder Scrolls being announced is pretty unlikely. I mean, Fallout 4 just came out this last holiday season, so they're still working on DLC for that. If they were going to do any kind of reveal for it, it would just be a very minor reveal teaser for some release date in late 2017 or even 2018. But even that alone I'd get pretty hyped up for. Now, second up is something I would love to see from Rockstar, which would be Red Dead Redemption 2 or Red Dead 3, Red Dead Revolution, Red Dead Reconciliation, whatever the hell you want to call it, I want that game. It's been 6 years since Redemption came out, and Rockstar's released some good games since then, especially GTA 5, but the fact of the matter is, in my opinion, Red Dead Redemption is the best game they have ever made, and it's about time we revisited it. It just did such a fantastic job of capturing the Western genre that so very few games really try to tap into, and it did it so much better than all the other ones that have tried. Who knew that just taking the basic mechanics that we've become familiar with in GTA and applying it to a Wild West setting where you're stealing horses instead of cars would end up being such an incredibly fun game? Not to mention it had one of the best storylines that Rockstar has ever delivered, being a perfect homage to several different styles of Western films. Now, Rockstar has a history of never really doing stuff at E3, they normally avoid it, but there's been some rumors lately that 2016 might be an exception. The company above them, Take-Two Interactive, has hinted that they're going to have some kind of big surprise game announcement for this year's E3. And just perfectly timed with it, there has supposedly been a leaked bit of concept art that teases possibly a Red Dead Redemption remake, or maybe even a whole new game. Either of which would be good news, but a full-blown sequel would definitely make me a lot more excited. Now, speaking of a franchise that needs revisiting, third up is Devil May Cry, and I'm not talking about having a sequel to 2013's DMC, which was a very pretty game, but it failed to have the depth that the rest of the series had. I want a new Devil May Cry that revisits what made the older games so good. I want a main character who's snarky, not angsty and whiny about the world like the new Dante was. I want a Devil May Cry that actually challenges you to learn how to do combos instead of just making everything easily flow into everything else. And most importantly, I want a Devil May Cry that actually challenges you instead of holding your hand the whole way while being a bunch of pretty eye candy, hoping that the game isn't too hard. Now, thankfully, just like with Red Dead, there has been some recent rumor that this might be happening at this year's E3, as there's been a leaked photo of the voice actors for Nero and Dante doing motion capture together, which admittedly is very thin evidence, but it's enough to get my hopes up. Now, for number 4, let's divert course a little bit. So far, we've all been talking about action, adventure, RPG-style games, but now I want to talk about one of the very few sports games that I absolutely love, and that's SSX. SSX Tricky and SSX 3 are some of the most fun I've had in split screen ever because they perfectly balanced having some pseudo-realistic basis on how actual snowboarding works, but more importantly, it made the whole thing silly and allowed you to do over-the-top crazy shit. And I had really high hopes for the new SSX that came out a few years ago, but it pretty much removed that entire part of the game, opting instead to try and make it this more realistic or serious kind of experience. And even worse, it got rid of the competitive aspects of the game. Instead of having races or trying to do better tricks than other players, it instead opted to just have this time trial mode where you make bets and try to get a better time score than other players, which paled in comparison. Thankfully, it still managed to have fun core gameplay and an incredible soundtrack, but I would just love it if EA Sports revisited this franchise and just brought back a little bit of the silly fun that made the older games so special. Now, for last on the list, I'm actually not going to talk about a specific game, but instead I have a request of a company that I've been a long-time fan of, but I've also been kind of drifting away from over time. And that's for Square Enix to bring back any of the major JRPG franchises that they haven't touched in forever. It could be the Mana series, Chrono Trigger, Valkyrie Profile. Just get one of these games that have a fantastic cult fan base and breathe some new air into them. And I don't mean making a port of one of the old games to iPhone or doing some kind of mobile spin-off of them. I mean a proper brand new sequel. And it's obvious that Square has been experimenting with the idea of doing this. I mean, a lot of the recent activity has been trying to bring back some old school flavor. Bravely Default is basically Final Fantasy in all but name. And one of their upcoming games that hasn't released yet in the US is I Am Setsuna, which according to reviews from overseas is basically Chrono Trigger with a different setting. So it just feels like it's time for them to finally take one of those old properties and do something new with it. If I got just that alone, this E3 would easily be one of my favorites of all time. Unless, of course, they do announce something and it just looks like some kind of grotesque monstrosity. So that's my wish list for E3 2016. Let me know down in the comments below what games you guys want to have announced. We're just a week away from E3, so there's going to be a whole lot more news to cover. If you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up button to let me know, as well as subscribe, and I will see you guys later.